All right, Washingtonville. I'm here today and I am actually a little nervous because I'm going to try to turn my great idea into a great book. And that makes me a little nervous when I first start. So, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to look back at something that we learned at school. And this is the Illustrator's checklist. Looks like I got some dirt on it. This is the Illustrator's checklist. An illustrator is a person who draws the pictures for a book. Well, that's going to be my job. I'm going to be the author and the illustrator of this book. So I know that I want to change these sketches into real pictures, like an illustrator does. So let's see some things that I need to remember when I'm drawing. The first one is that my picture matched my story. Okay, I can do that. The second thing is I drew the important people. So I'm going to think here about this one. So in this story, there's a couple important people. Mr. Kime, I'm going to have to take some time really drawing him because he was my teacher. He's important. It was his idea that we could go play hide and seek. And I'm important to this story. So I'm really going to have to make sure that I draw myself well on each page and also that I make myself wearing the same thing on every page. And then there's another important person, that's Justin here. So I think in this first picture, I'll have to make sure that I draw Mr. Kime, me, and Justin in that picture. And if I can, some other friends that might have been there, but actually the other people aren't quite as important as those main people, the important people. Now, number 3 says the faces match the feeling of the story. So I know that I was excited here. I was super excited here when I jumped into that hole. So I want to make my face look happy in those pictures. But here I was shocked. So I'm going to have to think about how that looks when I draw a shocked look on somebody's face. And here I think I was feeling relieved because I got some help, but I was still kind of really scared until I got out of that hole. So I'm going to have to think about the emotion, the look that I want to put on those faces. The fourth thing that I want to do is it says I included details. So action would be the movement. That's what I was trying to draw, like jumping here. I think I can do that better. And I didn't actually land on the snake. I was next to the snake. So I'm going to have to fix that in my drawing. And this is kind of action here, me climbing out of the hole with help from Justin. And then sizing. So when I draw my people, I need to make sure that I make Mr. Kime look big and us look small because we were kids. And if there's any special objects or things. So I have to make sure I draw that hole. I have to make sure that I draw that snake and maybe even some things in the background. That's called a setting. And that's number 5. It says I drew a setting. It will make a lot more sense if I add some trees and stuff to the background because that will tell my story that we were out in the woods, and then it will make sense that there was a hole and a snake there. Number 6 says I didn't draw things that weren't there. So for example, like I'm really good at drawing flowers, hearts, and rainbows, but it was a sunny day. It wasn't raining that day. So it wouldn't make sense if I just draw a rainbow in my picture. So I have to stop myself from drawing things that I just am good at drawing. And number 7 says my pictures were accurate. So I made the right color choice and I tried to make them look realistic. So I'm not going to be able to draw Mr. Kime like a photograph, but I can remember details about him that will help it look like him. Like I remember Mr. Kime had a bald head. I'm going to go ahead and get started with my first picture. And I always start out with my pencil because then if I make any mistakes, I can always erase. You'll see me doing it a lot. All good artists and illustrators do. All right, so I'm just finishing up the last little detail here on my first picture. That was a lot of work. I'm actually a little tired for today, and I might want to save my next page till tomorrow. But before I leave today, I want to just check over my Illustrator's checklist and use these smiley faces over here to see how I'm doing. So my first page is supposed to be this part where Mr. Kime, my teacher, tells all the kids in the class that we can go play hide and seek. So this one says my picture matched my story, and it sure does. So I'm gonna go ahead and color in that smiley face. I drew the important people. There's me, there's one of my friends, there's Justin, the one who later saves me from the snake hole, and there's my teacher, Mr. Kime. And the faces match the feeling of the story. Well, it looks like everybody's pretty excited. Oh, Justin's not too excited to do this. But you know what? Not everybody would be excited to go play, but a lot of us were. So I think our faces do match the story. And it says, I included details like action, sizing, and objects. So I actually tried to draw myself one of the smallest ones because I was the smallest one in my class. And I drew Mr. Kime tall because he was tall. And I gave this little kid over here some action. He's already ready to go play. And my friend is waving her hand. She's excited. And I also did the action of talking. Mr. Kime saying, go play. And the next one says, I drew a setting. So I have the water here and the grass and the woods, so everybody knows we're outside. And it says, I didn't draw things that weren't there. I actually had a little trouble with that. I started to make everybody wearing pants, but when I thought back, I realized some of us were wearing shorts. So I had to erase some of the pants that I drew because pants weren't there on everybody. So I wasn't doing so well at that, but I fixed it as I was drawing. And then the last one says my pictures were accurate. So my color choice is good. I used a lot of green to show the woods and browns, and I changed up my colors on everybody's clothes. That's part of what took me a long time. And the other thing is I tried to make it realistic. So I made my people look like people, and I tried to make my trees and grass look like trees and grass. So I did a nice job drawing that picture. Now I can kind of choose to either write the sentence that goes with this, or I can keep my drawing going. Today we're going to go ahead and keep our drawing going. So what I'm going to do is turn to the next page, and I have to keep on track with my story. So I'm going to get back out my planning sheet here. And this was my first one. I already did that one, so in my brain I'm kind of thinking I'm done with that. And on this page, I want to draw me jumping into that hole. The feeling of that part was actually still excitement. So I'll remember to do that on my face as I'm going. All right, I'm just finishing up my final touches on my last picture here and taking a peek back at my Illustrator's checklist, and I think I've done a nice job here. I've included all my events. And so I started out with him telling us to go play, and then me finding a fantastic spot in a hole, and then me finding out it was not a fantastic spot, that there was a snake in there, and then Justin helping me out of the hole. You might have noticed when I was drawing that I had to look back a lot, and I did make some mistakes. Look at my eraser. I used almost the whole thing off because I made so many mistakes. This took me quite a while. Don't worry if your writing takes a while. If you're getting tired of it or you start to work sloppy, just go ahead and put your things down until another day or another time of day and come back to it. It happens to all of us. I was looking back because I was trying to make my clothes match throughout my story, and also when Justin came back, I wanted to make his clothes like I had him at the beginning. So I had to be really careful about some things like that so that I could keep doing my very best work. Good luck drawing your pictures today, and we'll get started as writers, authors tomorrow.